this isn't the only route into Somalia. Hacked out of the undergrowth, this is where traffic flows. The Panya routes, so-called rat routes, used by smugglers to cross back and forth undetected. Branching brazenly off from the government roads, they're certainly a smoother ride, in spite of the Kenyan government's efforts to beef up border security. Up through these smugglers' routes, we've managed to enter Somalia from Kenya without any checkpoints, without being asked for ID, without seeing any sort of government presence. Night falls and it's rush hour on the Panya routes. People and goods ferried back and forth. Everyone is too afraid to stop for long here, even to help the stranded families we see along the way. Many are escaping the uncertainty back home in Somalia, but some are seeking to enter Kenya undetected for their own ends. The Panya routes end in the Dadaab refugee camp, currently the target of the Kenyan government's post-Westgate anger. Authorities believe that during the build-up to Westgate, Al-Shabaab operatives traveled from Somalia through the Panya routes and hid among the refugees in the camp. And it's from there the Kenyan authorities say that they and other undocumented people made their way through government checkpoints and deeper into Kenya, often hiding in plain sight. This is one of the public buses plying their trade on the road between Dadaab and the Kenyan capital. We wanted to see for ourselves how this works, so we board one of the buses and ask the conductor about the fare. He gives us a price. We say we don't have documentation, and the price goes up, from about $12 for both of us to $230. The conductor says it will buy me and my companion the use of fake Kenyan IDs and a safe trip. Don't worry, he says. You're not alone. We count out the cash and he hands us IDs from a stash he's been handing out through the bus. That's all it takes. We don't need the IDs, but others on the bus do. As we arrive at Grts, the main town in northeastern Kenya, we're told to line up at the checkpoint. Just out of the hidden camera's view, security officers scrutinize thumbprints with the help of a magnifying glass, comparing them to the IDs, fake or real. We overhear a woman take a Kenyan police officer aside. Bluntly, she tells the officer she has no valid papers. All the passengers, including the woman with no documentation, are waved back onto the bus to continue their journey to the country's capital. I show my official papers and join them. The Kenyan government has now signed an agreement with Somalia, hoping to clear Dadaab by voluntarily repatriating its residents. But will that be enough to protect Kenya?
And in Paris, there have been 2 gun attacks within the past few hours. The first one was at the French newspaper Libération. Police say a man with a shotgun walked into the lobby and opened fire on a 27-year-old photography assistant who was shot in the chest, and he is currently in a serious condition. The second attack took place in a neighborhood of Paris. The International Bank Societe Generale says the man opened fire in front of its headquarters there. No injuries have been reported and police are investigating the matter. Not long after that incident, a man told police he was hijacked in the same neighborhood. The French Interior Minister said police have been sent to offices of all national newspapers, and he spoke just a short while ago.
This individual. In our country, we cannot accept those who attack our fundamental rights, a right that women and men have always fought for all over the world. Lives have been lost over this right. I'm thinking of our 2 RFI journalists who were executed a few days ago in northern Mali, and here in the heart of Paris, we cannot accept these acts.
In other news, now people across the midwestern parts of the United States are trying to recover after ferocious weather over the weekend. Dozens of reported tornadoes have been recorded across several states on Sunday. Meteorologists say it's unusual for the kind of storm system to erupt in November. At least 6 people have been killed and many homes completely destroyed. On Monday in the U.S., more than 500,000 customers still did not have electricity supply. CNN's George Howell tells us more.
Kokomo, and he told me that the state of emergency has been lifted in this town. That is good news, and also to reiterate the fact that no one was killed. There were no serious injuries given what happened here, but with light of day, as the sun comes up here in this city, you can get a good sense of just how strong the winds were. You can see the roof here that collapsed on top of a fire truck, and even the firefighters here will need a little help digging out. Just a few minutes ago, we saw them walking by the fire truck, really trying to figure out what their next move will be. And you see plenty of devastation, a lot of damage in this town. No significant injuries, no fatalities, but a lot of property damage that people will be cleaning up today. New police dashcam video captured this twister in Boone County, Indiana, Sunday. Watch as it passes dangerously close to this semi-truck. The damage in Indiana so extensive, more than 160,000 residents found themselves without power this morning. Entire communities were destroyed. The force even toppling a car in this Starbucks parking lot. Patrons were temporarily trapped inside, but lucky to escape. Tornado warnings were issued across the region last night, putting Wisconsin, Missouri, and Ohio all on edge. This time-lapse shows the storm overtake the Indianapolis skyline Sunday afternoon. The resulting tornadoes tore across multiple towns. Crews in Kokomo worked in darkness. Headlights from their emergency vehicles, the only source of light in one of the hardest-hit areas in Indiana. The storm brought wind gusts powerful enough to tear the top from this home, sending it flying to the middle of the road. A fire station nearby was nearly demolished, and this man searches through what used to be his living room. Damage from the storm system spread to neighboring states like Wisconsin. Trees were uprooted, and houses sustained extensive damage in Allentown. You can hear and see the strength of the storm blowing fast through St. Louis, and in Milwaukee. Thick black clouds moved in just a matter of minutes. Now we know that the cleanup work will start today, a lot to be done, and also the governor will be here to tour a lot of the damage here in Kokomo. Back to you.
And in sports, Egypt coach Bob Bradley says he is proud that his team has provided an example of strength and unity to a divided country in their World Cup qualifying campaign. The Pharaohs face an uphill task against the Black Stars of Ghana after falling behind to an emphatic 6-1 mauling in the first leg of the 2014 World Cup playoff tie. We have details in the CNN report.
Impossible task to make it through to Brazil 2014 on Tuesday night. They go into the second leg of their African playoff against Ghana 6-1 down. And with his contract due to finish after this round of qualifying, Bradley's been reflecting on his side's achievement.
Egypt in the moment, sadly, is divided country. And I told them we must be different. We must be united. We must find a way where we can not only be strong as a team, but maybe be a good example for everyone. And that is still, as we prepare for this last match, what we are all about.
Burkina Faso have received a boost ahead of their second leg against Algeria with the news that Lorient forward Alain Traoré has been declared fit to play. They go into the match with a 3-2 lead. They're fighting to join Cameroon, Nigeria and Ivory Coast, who all booked their place in next month's draw for Brazil over the weekend. Cameroon beat Tunisia 4-1 on Sunday to qualify for their 6th World Cup in 7 attempts.
From sports, a quick reminder of our headlines before we end this edition of the news. The International Monetary Fund's Deputy Director at its Africa Department has acknowledged the Gambia's commitment to sustained and inclusive economic growth. National Assembly members scrutinizing the books of public enterprises and institutions have recognized the Gambia's management's efforts at rejuvenating the decades-old institution. Unseasoned tornadoes have wreaked havoc in parts of Midwestern United States, leaving at least 6 people dead. And despite efforts by Kenyan law enforcement agencies to stop Somali citizens from entering their country illegally, reports are suggesting the 3